Doesn't sound as good.
Alright guys, so today's video is going to be a little bit different because I wanted to just kind of, I don't know, put this out there. Maybe for someone, if you just recently bought your first like off-road vehicle, whether it be a Bronco, a Wrangler, a 4Runner, a Tacoma, Colorado ZR2, whatever, something that's designed from the factory to go off-road. So what I wanted to do was just kind of show you guys, give you guys a couple of tips for those of you that may be new and maybe you've just done it for a while and you also agree, but give you guys some tips on what you shouldn't do and what you should do when it comes to going off-road for your first few times, especially if you're in a new vehicle that you just recently purchased. All right, so as you guys can see, here's my Bronco that is bone stock, and yet I've been able to do these things with it. Now, I bring that up mainly to point out the fact that obviously on social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, it doesn't matter. A lot of people, when they buy a new Bronco, a new Jeep, a new whatever, they will then buy it and then spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on modifications before it's ever seen any real type of trail work. Which, in my opinion, after you've bought a new vehicle, especially when it's designed to go off-road from the factory, go ahead and take it off-road. Like as is, that way you know what you actually need to spend money on and what you don't need to spend money on. There's plenty of things that, if you go off-road, you'll be like, oh, you know what, okay, this did okay, but I think I need maybe all I need to run is a little bit larger tire. For example, on my Jeep, that's all that I've done to it. Little bit larger tire. But, most of these vehicles, they come from the factory. This comes from the factory with 35s, locking diffs, a disconnectable sway bar, fantastic approach and departure angles. There's not much you need to do to get out and enjoy yourself, get out, have fun, hit trails that are a little challenging, except for the guys who will, no matter what trail you hit, are gonna be like, oh, I can do that in my Lincoln Town Car, you suck, because those guys exist no matter what you do. So, ignore those dudes and enjoy your vehicle as it is. Get to learn it, get to know your skill level, get to know the vehicle's level, before you start dumping money into everything. Because again, it's cool, but you don't need to feel like you need to do that in order to have a good time. Now, I want to preface that by saying, like, obviously I'm not saying don't ever modify your vehicle. I'm just saying, if you buy it, give it a little bit of time before you just start throwing crazy stuff on it, to just enjoy it. Unless obviously you do YouTube videos full time and you get every video you make will easily pay, 3 times over what you paid for the parts, then cool. But for most people, in the real world, that's just not how it works. And it hasn't stopped me from having an absolute blast in any of the vehicles that I've had, whether it be my Raptor, 2-door JL, the 392, all went off-road immediately with paper plates, how they came from the dealership. And they were like that for a little bit until later. Then I was like, okay, now I kind of want to do these things. Now what I wanted to talk about is some stuff that maybe you should look into when you're going off-road for the first time and you're trying to figure out what should you bring, what should you have, and then we'll kind of go from there. Now that we've kind of talked about, you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on stuff before you ever go hit the dirt. Some things that you do need to do before you go hit the dirt is obviously know where you're going, know which trail you're trying to hit, do some research on them. And honestly, the best practice, I think, before you get yourself out in some place where you have no cell reception, you're hours away from anybody, is maybe try to go to an off-road park first. That way you're around a bunch of other people. And chances are, if you do break down or something happens, you will have someone very shortly be able to find you and be able to help you out, whatever the case may be. But after you've done that, you kind of figured out, okay, I want to do this, and let's start out on these trails and see where we can go. Then the main things that you should bring, in my opinion, and again, I know there's going to be somebody in the comments that's like, oh, you forgot to say this, you're a loser. Like, yeah, okay. But with that being said, the things that I feel like you should bring when you're going off-road for the first time is, and these are in no particular order, but bring plenty of water. You don't want to be out when it's 90, 100 degrees, 85 degrees, whatever, and be out for, 4 or 5 hours and get dehydrated. You don't want to do that. So make sure that you bring plenty of water for you, and if you have a passenger, or if you're also going with another person, make sure you guys bring plenty of water to stay hydrated, because trust me, it sucks when it's 100 degrees outside, you're in the heat, you're running around, you're spotting whatever, and you start to realize, ooh, we don't have any water. That sucks. Next would be, go ahead and bring a first aid kit. Just because, not necessarily, you know, because you're going to be doing the hardest trails and you might roll your vehicle, which is a possibility, but also because sometimes just getting out and walking around, you lose your footing, you know, you fall and you might just bust your elbow or whatever. It's just good to have something to help alleviate some of that pain, or be able to bandage it up so it doesn't get infected, whatever. Just little things like that it doesn't take up much space, right? You can easily throw it in. You know, you don't have to have some huge bag to go with you everywhere. Bring just some tools with you. You don't have to bring your entire garage, because that's a pain and it makes a lot of noise and it's annoying. But anytime I go off-road, especially if I'm going off-road where I'm not going to be at an off-road park, like let's say I'm going out literally in the middle of nowhere, you know, in Moab or somewhere in Big Bend where I have no cell reception, there's nothing for miles, then I'll bring some tools with me just in case, because you never know, you know, if something happens, just bring some tools with you that you can try to help yourself out if you run into a sticky situation. And obviously I know some people are going to say, oh, you know, you got to bring a GPS, you got to bring this, you got to bring that. A lot of the times you can download maps of wherever you're going, no matter what trail it is, on your phone, and you can already have it pre-downloaded. It'll have all the markers on there, so you can kind of see, oh, okay, that's, for example, when I go to Big Bend, I go, okay, that's GS1, I know where I'm at on the map, so I can just go here. You don't have to have 15 things hanging from your your Jeep. Again, that's what you're into, then awesome, but I'm just saying you don't have to do that if it's your first time going off-road. You don't need to worry about spending all that money on 15 different things. My experience, I'm not the you know, super off-road guru. I've been doing vehicle off-roading, like full-size vehicles, for about 6 years-ish, but before that I just did dirt bikes. So I'm not some off-road guru. It's just these are things that I've run into. And with new vehicles, you know, when you're talking about, hey, I just bought a brand new JL, like, you don't have to really worry about, like, oh God, I gotta bring 15,000 things, because if this, you know, if this thing breaks, like, unless you're doing something stupid, they're fine. Also, you don't have to have a Rubicon necessarily, or the hardest core model, to go off-road. My parents took their JKU Sport with all-season tires off-road, and it did fantastic. So you don't have to have the top dog to enjoy yourself on a trail. And as long as you have fun, that's really all that matters at the end of the day. You don't have to listen to the internet dudes who, you know, if you're not going vertical and upside down and flipping over, you know, that they're like, oh yeah, that was a decent trail. You know, it's just, I get those types of things all the time. Just to recap, those are the main things that I think you should bring. Plenty of water, first aid kit, some tools depending on where you're going. Again, to me, that can kind of vary. If you're going to an off-road park, especially on a weekend when it's gonna be busy, maybe you don't need to. If you're gonna go on a trip though, where you're definitely not gonna be immediately around people, I do think that's a good idea. All right guys, so again, like I said, just kind of a public service announcement, if you will, about going off-road if it's your first time, or with a new vehicle. It's just something that I believe you should do, is take them off-road as is first, then see what you need to upgrade, instead of wasting money on bumpers when this doesn't, I mean, you can add a winch to this one. There's no real need to really go just add another one just because, unless you want to spend money for looks, which is cool. But all that to say, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing mods, mainly to encourage them to get out and have fun before spending even more money. Obviously, I've modded this one, and I modded my two-door where I put, you know, new wheels, tires, a lift on it. But if some of you have been following me for a while, you know it didn't take me 2 months to do that. It took me a while to do that, just because I wanted to enjoy it as is, and for the most part, it was getting the trails, it was doing all the trails that I wanted it to do. So anyways guys, I'm sure some of you will have a difference of opinion. I'm sure some of you guys will disagree with me. Some may agree. Leave a comment down below if you have any other tips for some beginners. Like I said, I'm no expert, but just from what I've seen and from what I've watched, most of these vehicles nowadays are very capable out of the box. So you should be able to trust them and just get to learn your skill level, the vehicle's level of capability, before you just start dumping your entire savings into a vehicle. So yeah, anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Did I hit record? Yeah. I'm an idiot.